What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. Today we are talking best FPL fixtures from game week 1 to 5. I know the fixtures have been out for a while now, and obviously we have touched on them in certain videos, but I've not given my opinion or made my video on the fixtures yet. So I've picked 4 teams that I think have got the best fixtures. We're going to go through them one by one and talk about whether we should even be targeting their players. Just because a team has good fixtures doesn't mean they have good players as well. And if they do, which ones should we be putting in our teams for game week 1? If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, and even better, if you could subscribe as well if you haven't already. That would really help me out on this quest for 100,000 subscribers. Otherwise, let's jump into it. Okay, so we're going to look at Spurs first. Now, just because I've picked 3 players to put up on the screen doesn't mean they're the only players we should choose from. I'm going to touch on that as well. And sometimes I've had to put 3 because that's the format of the video, and I actually don't think there's even 3 worth considering, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's not for Spurs at least. So on paper, the fixtures look quite good. So I've given a general idea of fixture difficulty. So green is good, orange is kind of, middle of the road, not bad, not great either, and then red is pretty terrible. So 4 potentially good fixtures for Spurs in the first 5 game weeks. Now, one of the things I'm trying to do this season is use numbers a little bit more. It's not going to form my whole thinking. You know, I don't think stats are the be-all and end-all. Sometimes, things like eye test, transfers in to consider that the numbers won't have picked up yet and stuff like that is all things we have to think about. But I am trying to look at the numbers a little bit more this season. So, for example, I've looked at expected goals conceded for certain teams to decide whether I think they're a tough fixture or an easy fixture. And actually, interestingly, on paper, Spurs' fixtures are quite good. I think Man United is difficult. I think Everton actually could be difficult as well. I know they didn't do well kind of post-lockdown, but over the season, they're one of the better defences. You've kind of got teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City and Wolves who are kind of 5 teams in terms of expected goals conceded are very similar. Then just outside of that, kind of another 5 or 6 behind is the likes of Leicester and Everton. Then it goes a little bit further and a little bit further. So Everton defence isn't actually that bad. And I think they've made some they're going to make some pretty strong signings. How quickly they can gel into the team, we have to wait and see. But overall, I think you could say that the fixtures are quite good for Spurs, especially that Newcastle fixture, especially that West Ham fixture. I know a lot of people are going for Southampton goalkeeper in McCarthy, but that's not a bad fixture either. Now, the key concern, I guess, for me with Spurs is how is Mourinho going to line up? How attacking will they be? That's always been, one of the problems we sometimes see under Mourinho's sides, especially in recent times. Maybe not, back in the days, the good days of Chelsea. Yes, they were very good defensively, but also very good attacking as well. But I don't know, we just haven't seen enough of that right now. So in terms of the defence, I think there is a chance, last year they weren't fantastic defensively. I think there is a good chance they'll maybe step that up this season. I really like Matt Doherty still. I know he's not going to be the same Matt Doherty as at Wolves. Maybe not as many goals, but I think there's more chance for assists there. I think probably not as good a chance of clean sheets, but he's going to help Spurs be better defensively. I think some of the mistakes that maybe Aurier made, I'm not saying he was the only reason Spurs conceded goals, but I don't think he helped. You only see that from following Spurs fans. They're always talking about Aurier making mistakes. So Doherty will hopefully come in and stop that. He's still going to be attacking. We know how Mourinho plays. Right back bombs forward. The left back in Davies sits in a lot to kind of form a 3 at the back. Now, it's not to say that Davies won't go forward at all, but Doherty is likely to be the one that's kind of got that duty most of all. So I quite like Doherty. I would say I wouldn't discount the other defenders, because ultimately if you're trying to back the clean sheets, for a full $1 million less you can get Davies or Dyer. So if they fit into your kind of structure, I actually quite like them too. But in terms of attacking potential, sticking a player in, let's not forget that Spurs' fixtures after the first 5 are quite good as well for a few weeks. You could almost just put Doherty in as a 6 million set and forget for a while. Ultimately, he could be a better option than maybe the 6 million forwards as well. Have Doherty instead of Adams or Mitrovic or whoever it might be. So someone to consider. I really like Son. I think his numbers look good. He always exceeds them anyway. He's an exceptional finisher. Yes, he was playing quite wide post-lockdown, which is a bit frustrating. You want him to be more central. It'd be amazing if he played up front. I mean, if Spurs switched to a back 5, for example, and it was Kane and Son up front, that would be amazing. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it'll still be a back 4. So Son is someone I really like. I think every single season he just excels, and I don't see any reason that's not going to happen this season. Yes, okay, maybe he will be as wide as he was post-lockdown, but I just don't think he's going to sit out there for the whole season. Still going to get plenty of assists, passing to Kane, plenty of goals himself. So for 9 million, I really like him, and he gives you options. You can downgrade to maybe a Chelsea midfielder, upgrade to a Rashford or someone like that, or a Bruno Fernandes later down the line. So I actually quite like him for the opening few fixtures at 9. And Kane's a really good option as well. We started to see a little bit of the Kane of old post-lockdown. Again, a small sample size. I think he got like 6 in 8 or 7 in 9 or something like that. A very good amount of goals post-lockdown. And I saw, like I said, glimpses of the old Kane. 10.5 million, though, is the most expensive forward. I do think that the likes of Martial or Werner can probably match him for cheaper prices, which is the only thing that would put me off. But if you want him in there, if the 10.5 fixture structure, really good option, really nice fixtures, just really that Man United game and potentially the Everton one that is slightly tricky, but ultimately a good set of fixtures. So no teams are on this list because they got bad fixtures, of course, but Leicester's are pretty damn good. West Brom away, so opening game week of the season, they got a newly promoted team, then Burnley at home. Don't get me wrong, that Man City game is tough, but then West Ham and Villa at home are decent. Now, Villa's defence last year was one of the worst, if not the worst, but post-lockdown it was a little bit better. I don't know how much emphasis I would put on that for this season, though. I don't think they've suddenly become this really great defensive team, and ultimately they're probably going to still concede quite a few chances. West Ham's a very good fixture, and even Burnley's decent enough when at home. Now, I liked Leicester players, and then I've kind of gone off them a bit the closer we get to game week 1. So let's talk about the defence first. So Evans is suspended for the first 3 games. Obviously, they've lost Chilwell as well. Ricardo's out injured too. Now, he's going to come back at some point, which is a problem for Justin because he plays on the right. Their new signing, this Castagna, I think it is. I think I probably pronounced that wrong, so I do apologise. But they've signed a new fullback who's mainly a right back but can play on the left. So I'm assuming he's going to come in and play instead of Chilwell, but I don't know that for sure. And when Ricardo's back, Justin is then maybe fighting with Thomas, the new signing, to play left back, and possibly could come out of the team. If they play 3 at the back, that might change things a bit. Maybe Rodgers will play a fullback. A bit like how Azpilicueta mostly plays fullback, but when they play 3 at the back, he sometimes slots in. Like we saw Kyle Walker do actually for England as well. So Justin could slot in there, and they might play the other 2 fullbacks as wing-backs. We just don't know. But that kind of puts me off Justin a bit. With that amount of suspensions and injuries, are they going to keep enough clean sheets? They do have the fixtures in the opening couple of weeks, but a 4.5 million defender, a transfer down the line, personally, I'm starting to side now with going with someone who I'm more confident to start more often, and maybe even a team that's possibly going to get more clean sheets, like a Burnley. Yes, nowhere near as attacking someone like Charlie Taylor, but in terms of clean sheets, a pretty good option. So maybe Leicester to kind of target once we know how they're going to line up when all the players are fit and available. But for now, I'm starting to go off them a little bit with the amount of injuries and suspensions. Going forward, it doesn't really help either because Maddison's also probably going to miss the start of the season too. So straight away, one of their creative forces in that team is not there. I don't think that's going to hinder Jamie Vardy too much. They also have Europe to contend with this year as well, which might be a little bit of a problem. But Vardy tends to play most matches 80 to 90 minutes. Whether or not Europe will affect him too much, we'll have to wait and see. But for 10 million, again, really good fixtures. And I actually think he could be a good option for the opening couple. And again, he's only 0.5 million off Kane and Aguero. You could drop him down to Werner, Martial, Ings, Jimenez, whoever it might be. So if you kind of got that money up front, you could just go for him for either the opening 2 fixtures or for the opening 5 and get all these good 4 fixtures they've got. And then maybe look to downgrade. So I still like Vardy, but Maddison would concern me a little bit. And then Harvey Barnes, once he's fit, so he's fine to play ahead of Maddison. But even if they were both fit, I do prefer Barnes. I've spoken about this before. In terms of open play chances, he's more likely to get goals from that. Yes, Maddison is on set pieces, which helps. But from goal threat, there's just not too much goal threat from him. And a lot of the chances he's creating, Maddison that is, are from set pieces, which aren't likely to be the best quality and the best chance of actually getting a goal. So I like Maddison because you're more likely to get 80, 90 minutes. He does take set pieces, which we should factor in, even if it's not a big factor in our decisions. But Barnes, open play, yes, he only plays maybe 70 to 80 minutes, whereas Maddison, you're probably more likely to get 80 to 90. But those goals do add up if you can get them. And he had a really good amount of attacking returns last year. I'd hope he'd be nailed on from the start. And for 7 million with those fixtures, I think he could still be a good option, even without Maddison. So Sheffield United are on the list because on paper, the fixtures look quite good. I'm not sure how good they really are, though, and also how good Sheffield United are even going to be this year. So again, looking at the numbers, right, in terms of expected goals conceded, very similar to Burnley last year, apart from Burnley conceded 11 more. Now, one of the reasons for that was because of the amount of kind of expected goals that Henderson prevented himself. He was the second highest goalkeeper for the amount of expected goals he prevented. So he prevented a lot of good quality chances, basically. And they've obviously lost him now, and Ramsdale has come in. Now, Ramsdale's not a bad keeper. But I don't know if he's at the level of Dean Henderson. That would worry me a bit. Now, this is kind of where the eye test and the stats come into play. So the stats are kind of saying they're okay defence, but not necessarily any better than Burnley. They were maybe a little bit lucky not to concede more goals last year. But we know from the eye test how organised they are, and it doesn't ever feel like they give away a lot of chances, really. So I'm a bit conflicted about them. The thing is, I think Leeds at home is an okay fixture, even though Leeds, one of the best sides to come up from the Championship in a while. Villa away, pretty good defensive fixture. Fulham at home as well. Arsenal away is going to be tough, and I even think Fulham on the opening day is fairly tough as well. So I'm not actually sure how many clean sheets they get from the opening 5. And also, of course, because they did so well last year, they've had price increases across the board. So straight away, most of you will have seen, all I've picked is a goalkeeper and 2 defenders, because from an attacking point of view, like Lundstrom, not necessarily nailed on. Sanderberg, I mean, he could do okay, but he's not a very exciting pick. And the forwards just won't go anywhere near them. They don't score enough goals, and they're not even really nailed on, to be honest. That might change. Maybe they'll bring in Brewster or someone. Maybe someone like Muse will play most games. I don't know, but they just don't excite me at all in attack. So you're really looking at defenders. Am I really going to pay 5.5 million for Stevens? I can get Chilwell for 5.5 million, Thiago Silva for 5.5. I can get Davis, Dyer, Saiss for 0.5 million less. Probably playing in as good defences, if not better in some cases. So ultimately, they're on the list because I think on paper their fixtures look quite good and people will be looking at them as good fixtures. But I'm just really put off by the options. Like even Egan at 5 million, there's probably 4.5s or even other 5. Like Luke Shaw at Man United is 5 million. Like I've just said, Saiss is 5 million, Davis as well. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens at Arsenal, but some of their defenders are 5 million as well. They haven't done great defensively, to be honest, but they've made a lot of signings. Maybe that will help them this year. So it just puts me off spending that. Maybe if you want to go for a goalkeeper, you could go for Ramsdale, but I've said this many times. I'm going for a 4.5. So I'm not really looking to try and put people off Sheffield United. But I just don't feel like they're going to do as well as they did last year. Maybe I'm going to get that wrong. I don't know. But looking at the numbers, I know they're very well organised defence. They've got a strategy that they play. It's drilled into everyone. Everyone knows the system. Everyone knows how they're going to play. But they do still give away chances, similar to Burnley, like I said last year. And they had Dean Henderson to thank for a lot of those clean sheets, and he is now gone. Is Ramsdale at that level? I don't think he necessarily is. Maybe he'll show us that this season. But that all puts me off enough to say I'm probably not going to target any of their players to start off, despite the fixtures looking okay. But I haven't talked about Chelsea very much pre-season, have I? That's, of course, if anyone's not watched my video so far, that is a joke, because it seems that all I've done is talk about either Wolves defenders or, more importantly, Chelsea players in general, whether that's defensively or attacking-wise. And they just look great. And even at the time of recording this, there's reports that the Havertz deal is done. He's not quite yet confirmed by Chelsea, so we don't have a price and stuff for him yet. He's probably going to be a midfielder around 8.5, maybe 9 million. We'll have to wait and see. But they've got so many options that are potentially underpriced. I'm really excited. And the fixture's looking good. That Liverpool game I've put as an orange because it is at home, so it's maybe not quite as hard as going to Anfield, despite the fans thing. Otherwise, Crystal Palace at home, they started conceding a lot of goals last season. Southampton at home, again, another nice home fixture there. West Brom and Brighton away. Pretty decent all-round fixtures for the first 5. And like I said, I'm pretty excited about the prospects for their players. Now, defensively, Thiago Silva's coming at 5.5. Looking at his kind of goal threat over the last few seasons, he doesn't really score too many goals. So I'm kind of put off by that because basically, for 5.5, I can get Chilwell instead. So having the attacking left-back is probably more where I'd rather go. He's obviously not fit to start the season, which is a bit unfortunate. But I probably wouldn't go for Silva. Reece James could be incredible value this year if he starts. Now, I will say that's a big if. We don't know 100% if he's going to. Will they play a back 5 where he can play wing-back and Azpilicueta will play in one of the centre-back positions? Will Azpilicueta still play? Will it be, it could be James and Azpilicueta starting and Alonso misses out until Chilwell's back around to play left-back. Who knows, right? We don't know. But if he does play, there's any indication that he's going to start the season, I would probably throw all my, you've got to get nailed on players out the window because I think they're good potentially for defensive returns and very good for attacking returns as well. So I really like Reece James. And I spoke about the underlying numbers for Chelsea on a video recently, and I got a few comments saying they don't matter. At the end of the day, Liverpool conceded much less than Chelsea, right? And I fully get that. But ultimately, what's already happened doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Chelsea conceded so many more goals than Liverpool last season. What we're trying to predict is what's going to happen this season. If you look at the expected goals conceded again, Chelsea were on a par with Liverpool last year. The big difference was Liverpool have Alisson, Chelsea have Kepa, and Kepa made a lot of mistakes, right? There's probably a few goals that he should have saved. But if they sign a new goalkeeper, and they've got Thiago Silva added to the mix as well, and I also think there's some merit to saying they've got so many good attackers, they're going to be attacking a lot more to the point where they're not going to have to do as much defending. I don't know. I just think Chelsea are looking good for clean sheets. And yes, you can look at the goals against last year and say they were rubbish. They were. But the underlying numbers say there's a big chance, I would say, for them to do a lot better defensively than they did last year. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it could do looking at those kind of numbers. Going into the attack, so many options. You know how much I like Werner. I think he's going to hit the ground running. Really good numbers from Bundesliga. I think that will translate well to the Premier League, especially in a team like Chelsea, right? They were already doing quite well last year. Hopefully that'll improve with the ridiculous amount of signings they've made. Ziyech could be a good option. I think he shoots a lot, but the chances are usually from long range. He does, we could see him getting a lot of assists. But my personal favourite in midfield right now is Pulisic. We saw how good he was last year. The only issue is for game week 1 is will he be available? We'll have to wait and see. There's all COVID stuff going on. Obviously, he had an injury at the back end of last season as well. But this basically, what you see on the screen, is my preferred 3 if everyone was nailed. Because I'm not too sure about Reece James, and obviously we'll hopefully get some kind of indication from Lampard, I'd probably swap him for Chilwell when Chilwell is fit. But honestly, I'm all over Chelsea. I could have this wrong, and at the end of the day, you have to hold your hand up if you get it wrong. If after 5 weeks they've kind of lost 4 games and they've not even looked good at all, or lost 2 or 3 games, whatever it is, then fair enough, you hold your hands up, you change those players to someone else. But right now, on paper, they're looking decent. The fixtures are very good. I think a lot of their players are underpriced. I think we're basically going to see a Man United situation next year. Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, etc. all been increased in price. All these Chelsea players will be more expensive next year. I almost guarantee it at this point. So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you disagree with. I'm sure there'll be a lot, especially the kind of Chelsea underlying numbers and the amount of defensive returns they actually got last year. But still, let me know in the comments below what you think. Please do subscribe if you're new around here. Trying to hit that 100k by the end of the season. Honestly, the amount of subscribers I've had in pre-season is just incredible. Same with the likes. We're hitting like 1,000+ likes on each video. So I really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So thanks very much for that. If you want to support me and the channel a little bit further, I do have Patreon as well. There's a link in the description below. There's some extra content over there as well. A Q&A going up on Friday, so don't miss out on that. There's also Slack channels, WhatsApp, and all that kind of stuff as well. Otherwise, I'll leave the video there and I'll catch you probably on Sunday for another video. I'm not going to do one on Saturday. And then next week is the big week. Loads of content running up to the game week deadline, including streams. The streams will be back soon. There'll probably be one on Sunday, actually. And then we've got all the content through the season as well. So anyone that's watched my channel for ages, you'll already know what that looks like. If you haven't, hit subscribe. There's a lot coming your way and hopefully you'll enjoy it. See you soon.